Here are the deadliest weapons from every time period in history. The Stone Age. Back when humans still slept in caves, the options for killing each other weren't quite as exciting as they are today. For most of the Stone Age, your best weapon was just that, a stone. They were surprisingly effective. Just one hard hit with a rock is more than enough to crack a human skull like an egg. They also weren't too bad from a distance either. Thunk. Eventually, someone had the brilliant idea to put a sharpened stone on the end of a stick and call it a spear. These were pretty handy at taking down the various Ice Age megafauna still roaming the world back then, and improved versions of the spear would continue to be used in warfare for most of human history. Then, some 70,000 years ago, one guy was like, "Man, I hate that guy over there, but he's too far away to stab him with a spear or even throw a rock at him. Ha! You missed! Ugh. Simple weapons like these were literally all that we had for most of our history as a species. But as civilizations around the world expanded, weapons were forced to become more advanced. The Bronze Age. Take for example the macuahuitl, an ancient weapon used by the Aztec civilization in Central America. This weapon combined the best parts of a wooden club and a dozen small daggers, with sharp obsidian blades on the sides that were there just to make sure the Aztecs' enemies could never survive the wounds this weapon inflicted. Though we all know how that ended up going. A less effective melee weapon with a much cooler story is the trident. It was primarily used for fishing. How exciting. But it also got some action in the Roman Colosseum as the primary weapon of a type of gladiator called a retiarius. A retiarius was traditionally equipped with a trident, a small dagger, and a fishing net, and they would have little to no armor or even clothing. They'd be pitted against fighters with much more armor than them, and use their speed and agility to dodge their enemies' attacks, and try to tangle them in their net, while simultaneously trying to stab them with their trident. The trident typically only left small, non-fatal wounds so as to make the fight last longer for the entertainment of the audience. In any case, the most prevalent weapons in use during the Bronze Age had to have been slings, swords and spears of various types, including the Egyptian khopesh, as well as the shield. While useful in hand-to-hand combat, they were even better when used in an army formation, such as the phalanx. Every soldier stood shoulder to shoulder as they advanced, completely unstoppable. These sorts of weapons were all well and good for fights between individuals or armies, but less effective at taking on the well-fortified castles common to the next period, the Middle Ages. Necessity is the mother of invention, and when the necessity is breaking into a palace and mercilessly slaughtering all your enemies, the inventions are siege weapons. Huge machines usually operated by multiple soldiers that were great at tearing down the dreams of kings. There were so many types of siege weapons that I can't cover them all in this one video, so I'll just go over my favorites. The siege hook was a large device that could be used to literally just pull a wall down by grabbing it and yanking it away. Effective and very simple, 4 stars. The trebuchet was a device invented in ancient China. Larger and more deadly than a catapult, it could throw a stone weighing 200 pounds to a distance of up to 275 meters, or almost 3 football fields. Very terrifying, 5 stars. The ballista was basically a giant, really destructive crossbow. The crossbow is already cool, and making it bigger is a good idea in my eyes. 5 stars. The battering ram was a log held by a bunch of soldiers that they would use to repeatedly hit walls and gates until they broke. How can you even call this a weapon? It may have been effective, but consider how annoying it would have been to use. Imagine the splinters in your skin, the smell of wood irritating your eyes, and the pain if you all dropped it on your poor little toes. 0 stars. My channel is still small enough that I can easily read and reply to every comment I get, so please, let me know your favorite siege weapon in the comments. While technologies like this made armies more formidable on land, other civilizations were busy developing weapons to fight their enemies approaching from the sea. Introducing Greek fire. This was a sticky mixture that could be ignited and burned for hours, even when placed on water, making it incredibly dangerous for your average seafaring warmonger. Roman sailors would spray this flaming mixture onto their enemies' ships through tubes, or load it into hand grenades before tossing them aboard their opponents' vessels. Greek fire was so effective that the Byzantine Empire couldn't afford to let their enemies discover the recipe to create it, and so it became a closely guarded secret. Even today, we don't know exactly how it was manufactured, but it's generally believed to be similar to a modern flammable liquid called napalm. We've come to a point in history where we can begin to discuss the invention of the weapon that fundamentally altered how wars were fought and changed our existence as a species forever. This weapon is the gun. Modern guns are unreasonably effective at killing people. Just ask any American third grader, they'll tell you.